Florida still sells the dream. Palm trees, blue water, sunsets that look photoshopped. But behind the margaritas and drone shots is a housing market quietly turning into a financial escape room. Insurance bills that feel like car payments. Homes sitting so long they're collecting dust and personality. Prices wobbling while HOA letters arrive like jump scares. In this countdown, we're breaking down the Florida cities where buying a home in 2026 could age you faster than the humidity. Real numbers, real risks, and a few places where the American dream now comes with a deductible and a warning label. Number 10, Pensacola. Pensacola looks like the chill cousin of Florida real estate. White beaches, military roots, laid-back energy. The kind of place where you imagine buying a house, learning paddleboarding, and suddenly becoming the calm person in your family group chat. And on paper, it doesn't scream danger. Median sale prices hover around the mid-$300,000 range, which feels almost reasonable by Florida standards. But here's where the mood shifts from beach postcard to slow-motion horror movie. Homes are taking over 100 days to sell on average. That's not take your time. That's this listing has seen 3 birthdays. When a market moves that slowly, every life surprise becomes a financial jump scare. Job relocation? Congrats, you now own 2 mortgages. Divorce? The house refuses to pick sides. The quiet problem with Pensacola isn't dramatic crashes, it's the slow bleed. You buy thinking you'll flip in a few years, then discover you're basically in a long-term relationship with your closing costs. Meanwhile, carrying expenses don't sit still. Insurance, taxes, maintenance, all ticking quietly like a polite but persistent metronome draining your bank account. And the local economy, while stable, isn't exploding with high-paying job growth that suddenly rescues demand. That means fewer desperate buyers rushing in to save your exit plan. Pensacola won't punch you in the face financially. It'll just keep you in a gentle but firm headlock until you question every Zillow decision you've ever made. Number 9, Ocala. Ocala sells itself as the affordable Florida loophole. Horse farms, rolling land, homes that cost less than a Miami parking space. It feels like you've hacked the system. You tell friends you found hidden value, and suddenly, you're the real estate genius of the group chat. Then the numbers start acting strange. Median prices have slipped slightly year over year, sitting around the mid-$200,000 range. That doesn't sound catastrophic until you realize the energy here isn't rising, it's hovering. Markets that hover are dangerous because they don't crash loudly. They just quietly refuse to grow while your mortgage keeps doing push-ups. Selling in a soft, low-competition market feels like trying to auction furniture in an empty room. Buyers stroll in relaxed, hands in pockets, knowing you don't have a crowd behind them. That's when the negotiations turn from strategic to humbling. Suddenly, you're offering concessions like a tired game show host just trying to end the episode. The real risk with Ocala is psychological. You buy because it's cheap, thinking affordability equals safety. But affordability without momentum is like owning a treadmill that never turns on. You're technically moving, but somehow still in the same place financially. And when appreciation crawls instead of runs, even small repairs start feeling like financial betrayals. Ocala isn't a disaster movie, it's worse. It's a slow documentary about patience. And the moment you realize patience doesn't build equity by itself. Number 8, Lakeland. Lakeland sits right in that Florida sweet spot between Tampa and Orlando, which makes it sound like real estate Nutella. Close to everything, not too expensive, endlessly marketed as the smart compromise. The city where practical buyers go to feel clever, but clever can age badly. Prices in Lakeland have stayed relatively flat, hovering a little above $300,000, which at first glance feels stable. Stable sounds comforting, like a warm blanket, until you realize stability in real estate can also mean the market is holding its breath, while inventory quietly piles up behind you like unclaimed luggage. More listings keep showing up, and when supply creeps up faster than demand, sellers start sweating through their open house outfits. That's when the concessions begin. Closing cost credits, price cuts, appliances thrown in like consolation prizes. It becomes less competitive market and more yard sale with granite countertops. And here's where it turns mildly comedic. The same location that makes Lakeland attractive, the in-between geography, can work against you. If Tampa sneezes or Orlando catches a cold, Lakeland suddenly feels it like the emotional middle child of Florida housing. The danger here isn't explosive decline, it's the subtle erosion. You buy thinking you found balance, then discover balance sometimes means you're stuck perfectly in the middle of a market that refuses to pick a direction. Not rising enough to celebrate, not crashing enough to escape, just hovering, like a drone with low battery. Number 7. Port St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie had its glow-up moment. For a while, it was the Florida growth darling. New homes everywhere, palm line developments popping up like copy-paste neighborhoods, and buyers flooding in with relocation dreams and freshly approved mortgages. Then the music slowed. Median prices now hover around the $400,000 range. But the real story is the tempo. Homes are taking roughly 3 months to sell. In housing time, that's long enough to go from motivated seller to existential philosopher. Listings linger, price tags soften, and suddenly the confidence that built the boom starts wobbling like a folding chair. Flat prices are sneaky. They don't headline like crashes, but they quietly rewrite expectations. You buy assuming appreciation will carry you, only to discover the market has decided to take a meditation retreat. Meanwhile, days on market stretch longer and buyers show up with the energy of people browsing clearance racks. The strange part about Port St. Lucie is how normal it looks. Clean streets, new builds, tidy lawns, visually reassuring. But underneath that suburban neatness is a market recalibrating in real time. And recalibration is real estate's polite word for everyone suddenly rethinking their life choices. Owning here can feel like holding a stock that stopped moving. Not exciting enough to brag about, not terrible enough to panic. Just sitting there in your portfolio, quietly daring you to decide whether you're early or stuck. If you're enjoying this Florida reality check, hit subscribe. We break down housing markets without the sugarcoating, just the numbers, the risks, and the places that real estate agents mysteriously forget to warn you about. Number 6, Miami Beach. Miami Beach is where real estate puts on perfume and lies to your face. Ocean views, pastel condos, rooftop pools that look like perfume ads. You walk through South Beach and suddenly feel like you deserve a linen outfit and a mild identity crisis. On the surface, buying here feels glamorous, like you've officially made it. Then the paperwork starts talking. Median prices hover around the mid-$600,000 range, which sounds survivable until the monthly math shows up wearing steel-toed boots. HOA fees that casually wander into 4 digits, insurance quotes that look like typos, and units that sit on the market for 4 months like they're grounded teenagers. The real villain here isn't one number, it's the stack. Condo reforms after the Surfside collapse changed the financial gravity of South Florida. Buildings now need deeper reserves, stricter inspections, and suddenly everyone's discovering their building has the structural confidence of a Jenga tower. That turns monthly fees into mini student loans you never applied for. And then there's the slow-motion background music nobody wants to acknowledge: water. Miami Beach is basically a glamorous sandbar negotiating with the Atlantic Ocean in real time. Flood adaptation projects, rising sea level discussions, streets that occasionally moonlight as canals after storms. It's the only housing market where waterfront can slowly evolve into water inside. Owning here can feel like dating someone incredibly attractive but financially reckless. Stunning on Instagram, emotionally expensive in real life. You don't leave Miami Beach broke in one dramatic moment. You leave after years of smiling through HOA meetings that feel suspiciously like group therapy. Number 5, Tampa. Tampa still carries that it city energy. For years, it was the Florida success story. Tech arrivals, migration waves, cranes everywhere, and headlines screaming growth like a caffeinated news anchor. Buying here once felt like boarding a rocket mid-launch. But rockets eventually hit turbulence. Median values have shown softness depending on the index you check, with some data pointing to year-over-year dips, while homes also take longer to sell than they used to. That combination is the real plot twist. When prices wobble and days on market stretch, the market stops feeling like a party and starts feeling like cleanup. The awkward part about cooling cities is psychological. Everyone still talks like it's 2021, the same optimism, the same "this area is exploding" energy. But listings sit longer. Sellers start slicing prices like they're trimming fat off a steak. Buyers stroll in slower, calmer, armed with negotiation tactics and emotional detachment. And then there's the invisible Florida multiplier, carrying costs. Insurance in the state remains one of the heaviest line items in home ownership, and when appreciation slows, those recurring expenses suddenly feel louder. What used to be background noise becomes the entire soundtrack. Tampa's risk isn't instant collapse, it's expectation whiplash. People buy based on yesterday's momentum and wake up in a market rewriting its personality in real time. You don't feel it in one headline. You feel it when your neighbor sells for less than expected, and suddenly, everyone on the block starts checking Zillow like it's a weather radar. Number 4. Daytona Beach. Daytona Beach is one of those names that sounds permanently fun. Racing, spring break energy, wide beaches, the kind of place that feels like it should come with background music and sunscreen commercials. Buying here feels emotionally easy, nostalgic even, like purchasing a slice of American beach mythology. Then reality starts sandblasting the fantasy. Median prices have dipped into the high $200,000 range with noticeable year-over-year declines, which on paper looks like a discount. But discounts in real estate can be like clearance sushi, intriguing until you ask why it's there. The Atlantic coastline here has taken real hits over the years. Storm surge, erosion, infrastructure strain. Events like Hurricane Nicole didn't just show up for dramatic headlines, they physically rearranged parts of the shoreline. And once buyers see sand literally moving, confidence tends to pack a suitcase. Here's where the emotional math gets weird. Cheaper prices lure people in, but risk lingers in the background like elevator music. Insurance becomes a negotiation. Repairs become seasonal traditions. Every storm forecast suddenly feels personal, like the weather app has beef with your mortgage. And markets shaped by uncertainty don't move smoothly. Buyers hesitate, sellers adjust, listings linger just long enough to make everyone uncomfortable. Daytona's danger isn't just financial, it's psychological erosion. The slow drip of what if that comes with owning property where the horizon occasionally looks like it's planning something. Buying here can feel like front row seats to paradise, with a backstage pass to Mother Nature's mood swings. Number 3. Punta Gorda. Punta Gorda feels like the retirement brochure that forgot to mention the fine print. Calm canals, golf carts, sunset docks, the kind of place where you imagine grilling fish and discussing blood pressure medication with neighbors named Gary. It looks peaceful enough to lower your resting heart rate just by driving through. Then the numbers start doing cardio. Median prices have slid, with year-over-year drops in the high single digits and homes taking 4 months or more to sell. That's a dangerous combo. Falling values plus slow exits means the market isn't just cooling, it's stretching time itself. You don't sell a house here, you marinate in it. And the Southwest Florida factor looms over everything. This region has lived through real storm trauma, and buyers don't forget trauma. Insurance quotes rise, inspection reports get dramatic. Suddenly, every open house comes with subtle anxiety, like everyone's pretending the Weather Channel doesn't exist. The weird part is how polite the decline feels. No chaos, no screaming headlines, just quiet price trims, extended listings, and that uncomfortable realization that demand isn't rushing back to save anyone. Owning here can feel like holding a snow globe that someone gently stopped shaking. Everything looks calm, until you realize nothing's moving anymore. Number 2, Fort Myers. Fort Myers still tries to sell sunshine like it's a personality trait. Palm trees, waterfront dreams, boat ramps everywhere. It's the Florida you picture when you close your eyes and hum Jimmy Buffett songs. Buying here feels like stepping into a screensaver. Then the spreadsheets show up and ruin the vacation. Prices have taken sharper hits than many neighboring cities, with some data showing near double-digit yearly declines. That alone would sting, but pair it with homes lingering for 2 to 3 months, and suddenly the exit door feels sticky. The regional memory of Hurricane Ian still floats around like humidity. You can repaint houses and rebuild roofs, but you can't fully repaint buyer psychology. Insurance remains a heavyweight expense, and when premiums feel like a second mortgage, appreciation needs to sprint just to break even. Lately, it's been jogging. There's also the environmental wildcard, red tide headlines, water quality scares, things that don't always show up in listing photos but absolutely live in Google searches. Buyers read, hesitate, scroll, pause. That hesitation slows everything down. Fort Myers isn't collapsing dramatically, it's sagging, like a beach chair that still works technically, but makes you nervous every time you sit down. Number 1, Cape Coral. Cape Coral is what happens when ambition meets too much land and a canal obsession. Master planned, water-laced, built for growth. For years, it expanded like someone hit copy-paste on entire neighborhoods. Wide streets, new builds, endless inventory. The American dream in bulk packaging. And bulk can backfire. Prices have softened, slipping year over year, while listings stack up like unsold gym memberships in February. When supply piles high, the power dynamic flips. Buyers slow down, negotiate harder, and suddenly every seller becomes emotionally invested in price cuts they swore they'd never make. But the real knockout punch is the risk stack. Southwest Florida storm exposure still haunts the area, insurance remains brutally expensive, and carrying costs don't care about your optimism. Even environmental headlines, algae blooms, water quality scares, chip away at buyer confidence in ways that don't show up on Zillow graphs, but absolutely show up in offer prices. Cape Coral earns the top spot because it combines everything you don't want at once: softening values, heavy inventory, and long-term risk layered like a financial lasagna. It's not just one problem, it's a buffet of them. Buying here in 2026 doesn't feel like planting roots. It feels like volunteering for a group project where nobody knows the deadline, but everyone knows it won't be fun. Florida still has incredible places to live, but as you've seen, not every palm tree comes with peace of mind. Some markets look dreamy until the numbers start talking. If you want a breakdown of the safest Florida cities to buy in next, stick around, because where you buy matters more than ever.